Welcome to Family Peace Initiative's Curriculum Blips. In this podcast, we provide fast and easy resources for facilitators using the FPI suite of curricula to help you prepare before stepping into a group room. Whether you're brand new to BIP facilitation or using drive time to refresh yourself on familiar concepts, these blips are intended to help you get in the right frame of mind as you head into group. You'll hear from seasoned staff and FPI curricula authors on the key concepts and goals of each lesson, as well as what to expect from group members in these conversations. In this episode, we continue Section 5 on Trust in Partnership. Steve Halley, co-founder and co-director of the Family Peace Initiative, leads us through Session 2 on WIBS statements and accepting influence. Let's get right to it.
The second week of the fifth section of the Professional Facilitator's Guide is really beginning to talk about the antidotes to the four horsemen of the apocalypse. John Gottman's illustration of how to destroy relationships in a couple of easy steps by criticism, defense, stonewalling, and contempt. Many of the people in our classes, when they start thinking about how their relationship works, they can totally relate to the four horsemen, and they can see it actively playing out in their relationships. But the question becomes, so what? What do you do instead? And we go back to John Gottman for the answers to this. The idea in the second week is to teach the WIBS statements and to teach people how to accept influence. And these are very powerful tools that are often misunderstood. When someone is really activated, it's hard for them to think clearly about what they should say in order to try to address an issue. And so, when people get really activated and impulsive about what they're arguing about, these skills are probably not going to be applied. And John Gottman has talked about that, I statements and I messages are some of his least favorite skills to teach because people don't do them in the heat of the moment. But there's many times when people are kind of stewing and thinking, I didn't like that when that happened this morning, and I'm going home tonight, and I'm going to be learning how to, what Gottman calls, start the conversation with a soft startup is a very important way to keep things at a low key. He says that the way conflictual conversations start up is often the way they finish. So if you start a conversation softly, then it will end softly. But if you start it by raging and yelling and hostility, then it will end with raging and yelling and hostility. So how to start a conversation is a really important tool to be able to use and be able to teach those people in our classes. And so the WIBS statement, what I like to do is to find something that's going on in the group. Either someone is coming in late, someone didn't do their homework, or somebody checked in kind of phoning it in instead of really trying to dig into what are they feeling and noticing something. I will just kind of, without telling people what I'm doing, I will just say, hey, John, when people come in late to class, I feel really frustrated because I try to be here ahead of time to be ready, and it's really distracting when people come in after the group has already started. So can we talk about how you might be able to come to get the class on time? And then John, or whoever it is I'm talking to, will say, yeah, we can talk about that. And I'm like, well, great. Can we, after class, would it be okay if you and me have a conversation about what can happen to help you get to class on time? And sure, that's no problem. I'll be happy to do that. It's a very low-key conversation, especially if I keep myself really calm. Hey, John, when this happens, this is what I feel. And so can we talk about it? Then what we do is we ask people to kind of identify some pet peeves, right? And this is one of those rare moments when they get to talk about something that their partner does, and leaving in our household, there's leaving the socks all over the family room. They're not deal breakers in the relationship, but they're annoying things. It could be which way the toilet paper's hung, or putting the toothpaste lid back on the toothpaste, or, whatever it might be. But how to be able to address those behaviors so that they don't become big issues is a great place to start. And so we'll have people open up their workbooks and just kind of go through the WIBS statement that we provide in the workbook in Section 5. And we try to help them learn how to avoid the word you. Because almost any time I'm in a conflictual conversation, if I use the word you, for example, when I'm saying, every time you look at me like that, every time you say those things, when you do this, right? That somebody else is automatically, put on the defensive because they can feel the attack coming. So how do we stay focused on me, right? How do we, without attacking my partner, for me to be able to say, when people leave their socks in the family room, I get frustrated because we never know when we're going to have guests, and I don't want the house cluttered with socks when guests come into our home. And so can we talk about that? Right, how can I say this statement without you? When this happens, when people tell me these things, right? When I see this occur, when I come downstairs and there is this, I'm just trying very hard to talk about myself. And then in the end, asking for a conversation. Can we talk about this? Is there a good time that we could talk about this? People kind of understand that a little bit. We do a little exercise, and it's kind of fun, where we'll ask a group member to just criticize me for a minute. And you can say whatever you want, criticize me however you want, I don't care. And they just go ahead and criticize. And what they do is they go, Steve, you are so dumb. Your hair is just all messed up. Steve, your pants never look right. Your shoes are out of style. You are, you, right? And then we just ask them to criticize us again, but this time the only exception is that they can't use the word you or your. And it's interesting because it can be done. It can be done in like a third person, where a group member will lean over to somebody else and say, "Hey, Bob, look at Steve's pants. Look at Steve's hair. Isn't that funny?" They'll do something to kind of go to this third person, but commonly they get stuck. Because it's very hard to criticize somebody without using that word you. And so what we're asking them to do is to be able to build WIBS statements without the word you, that they're talking about themselves and not criticizing the character of the person that they're having the conflict with. So, when these things are said to me, when someone looks at me like that, like they're angry at me, I get scared and nervous. And so, because I don't know what they're thinking, so can we talk about this kind of thing? Can we have a conversation? And people can generally do the WIBS pretty well, the WIB, but when they get to the S, they want to solve the problem. It's amazing, right? And so they move into kind of a dominating and control position. They say, when the dog doesn't get fed, I feel frustrated and mad because I'm worried the dog isn't going to be fed and healthy and might starve. And so could you please feed the dog? And so what they're trying to do is solve the problem instead of inviting a conversation, which is about exploring and understanding as opposed to protecting, as opposed to being open to exploring and understanding by inviting. Can we talk about this for a minute? Is this something that you're open to a conversation? And maybe if you're not open now, is there a time maybe after dinner or tomorrow where we could talk about this? And so we want to be able to teach them that the WIBS statement is simply a way to start a conversation, to invite a conversation to occur. Now, that's the antidote for criticism. Instead of going, oh, you're so stupid, you always do this, we can say, when these things happen, this is what I feel, and this is why, because, and so can we talk about that? The antidote for the defensiveness is to accept influence. And John Gottman talks about this, to find something that you can agree with in a person's statement before you say what you disagree with. So, for example, if Dorothy says, Steve, you're always sitting on the couch doing nothing, right? Which I don't think she's ever said. But if she said that, if I'm accepting influence, I would say something like, wow, Dorothy, you are right. I do sit on the couch a lot and watch sports and watch the news and things. But I do a lot around here. And so I can defend myself while first acknowledging that what Dorothy's saying has some truth and legitimacy to it. But it doesn't have to mean that I'm always this way. So accepting influence is the antidote for defensiveness. I don't have to get defensive. And by the way, every time I'm defensive, I'm protecting my shadow message. I want you to know if I don't have to protect my shadow message, I don't have to get defensive. And so if I could just say, wow, you're right. There are times when I come home late from work, but I'm doing a lot and I'm really busy and I'm doing a lot of things to help around the house and to help you. But I have to agree with you that there are times when I'm not where you expect me to be. So there's find something you can agree with, and then you can state what you disagree with, and it keeps the tone, it keeps the cycle from spinning between criticism and defensiveness. So there's a lot in this section, but it's all the antidotes for the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And I hope you have fun with this, because a group will struggle with this. They just want to demand, boss, command, and be in charge. And it's hard to learn how to take somebody else's interest into account and to listen to what they have to say. So good luck with this and have a great time. And I will be back with you next time to talk a little bit more about this section of Trust and Partnership.
Thanks for preparing for your group with us today. If you have questions, stucks, or if there's a section of the curriculum you'd like to hear us explore in more detail, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at reception@familypeaceinitiative.com or submit a contact form on our website. Family Peace Initiative, working to serve our clients and community with compassion, integrity, and expertise.